Hello, and welcome to our Alumni Spotlight podcast. My name's Autumn, and I work to tell the stories of our amazing students and alumni here at Penn Foster. Today, I'm talking with Severina Jimenez, who recently graduated from our Dental Assistant program in 2020. Welcome, Severina.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for talking with me today. I want to jump right in. So, Severina, what were you up to before you found Penn Foster and before you started with Penn Foster?
Before I started with Penn Foster, I was working at a daycare. Most of my experience is in early childhood education. I've worked with children from ages of 6 weeks to 12 years of age.
That's great. And what made you want to make the switch and enroll in this dental assistant program?
Well, I moved from New York to Pennsylvania. But before that, when I lived in New York, I was a CNA. So I was always kind of in the medical field. When I moved to Pennsylvania, it was just me and my kids. So I had to find something that worked with their schedule and their daycare schedule. But as they got older and no longer needed daycare, I was then able to focus on myself a little more and what I wanted to do. And I wanted to get back into that medical field. I just wasn't sure what exactly I wanted to do. But I had a couple of friends who are hygienists and dental assistants, and they kind of talked me into it, told me that, it was something that I'd like and I'd be interested in. So I checked out the courses, and it was something that I was interested in. So I went on and did it.
That's great. Yeah. And it's helpful that you had friends to kind of steer you along and get you on the path. So that's great. So you mentioned you have kids. How did learning online work for you? When did you find the time to, study and be a mom?
Well, I was working full time, and then I'd wait for the kids to settle in and go to bed. So anywhere from like 8, I would try to study from 8 to 11. I would use my lunch breaks to study as well. I had an hour lunch break, so I'd also use my lunch break to do my schoolwork. And every other weekend, I would do my schoolwork, so that way I still had time for my kids on the weekends, but then I also still had time to get my study on as well. So as much as I basically could, I would try to study.
Yeah, that's great. And I like that you dedicated a weekend to studying and working on your studies. So that's great. You mentioned studying and do you have any study tips that you can share with students who are maybe going through the program now that worked for you and helped you retain the information?
I'm more of a visual person, so I like to write things down and highlight. I found colors. Colors attract. So everything that I did was just real colorful. It was easy for me to go back and find certain things and certain words just by remembering the colors that I used. So just sticky notes, highlighters, that works for me, anyone else who is a visual person, that'll probably work for them as well.
Yeah, that's a great feedback and some great tips, because we always talk about, study habits and everyone learns differently, but that's really great that you found a way that works for you. I love that. So now you're in the field, you graduated. Can you tell me about how Penn Foster helped you take the next step?
What I did enjoy about Penn Foster is I would get weekly emails. It is different when you're doing it online versus being in a classroom. You don't have a teacher study in front of you, giving you pointers and helping guide you. When you are online, that makes it just a little bit difficult. But what I liked about Penn Foster is, like I said, I had weekly emails with people just reaching out, letting me know that they're still there. If I had any questions, if I had any concerns, there was always someone for me to reach out to if I felt as if I was struggling. So that is one thing that I liked about the program. They also sent me tips about how to refresh my resume. When I did get out onto the field, they also sent me tips of other people, just to give me a basic idea, just in case if I needed anything, that support was always there.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that you mentioned that, and that us encouraging you, sending those emails, keeping you, letting you know, keeping you in the loop that we're here to help. And then I'm sure motivation that helped motivate you as well to finish.
Yep.
So what are you up to now since graduating? You're in the field. Can you tell me a little bit about where you're at and what you're doing?
Sure. So when I enrolled, I wanted to, when I enrolled, I was still working with kids, but I wanted to get into a dental office as early as I could because I
Mhm.
felt like that'll help me even more. If I came across questions, I would, be able to ask someone and they would be able to help me. But like I said, I'm a visual person. So I felt like if I was in a dental office, just seeing things and hearing things would help me along with my program. So I was lucky enough to find an office who hired me while I was in school, even though I didn't have the training.
Mhm.
Um, they trained me. So that made it a little bit more easy for me when it came to studying. If I had questions, the dentists were real open with me. And if I had questions, concerns, I would, like I said, I would study on my lunch break. So if I came across a question, I'd, bring it to a dentist and say, can you help me with this? I'm struggling with this. What does this mean?
Yeah.
So that was helpful. So it made my transition easy because I was already in the setting. So I worked front desk up until I graduated. And then once I graduated, I transitioned to the back to where now I'm a full-time dental assistant, but I'm also cross-trained in working in the front. So I pretty much do both jobs. And like I said, I love what I do. It's I learn something new every single day. I couldn't be more happy with the choice I made.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love that you pretty much saw, immediate rewards after you completed. You were now able to go into the back, but it's important too to have that front training too. It
Yeah.
makes you a really well-rounded employee. I love that.
Yeah. And it's hard sometimes when you're fresh out of school to find a job because
Yeah.
most places they expect you to have a year or two of experience. So I ran into that a little when I first graduated. When I went to Fortis and I graduated with my phlebotomy technician, it was so hard for me to find placement because I didn't have the years of experience that they were requiring. So
Yeah.
that's why I said I was lucky enough to find something that they said, we'll train you. You don't have to worry about that. So like I said, I lucked out with that. I was so grateful for that opportunity, and it just helped me further myself even more.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, what were you learning, maybe in your studies that you're applying to your job now? And did you were seeing that every day? Did that help?
Yeah. I mean, um, with my studies, it was just like a basic study. It was something just to guide you and get you started.
Hmm.
Um, so it just gave me the tools I needed to get started. When I
Yeah.
started, I was already in school. So, when I would hear certain doctors say certain terminology, I already knew what they were talking about because of my studies. So
Yeah.
I feel like that opened the door for me in that aspect. Just being able to recognize certain words that, they were coming across and certain things that I was seeing on paper, like, oh no, I remember, reading about this or studying this, so I'm a little familiar with this. It made it easy for me in that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure that's important too. And it made you probably seem, a little more reputable to the dentist and, the people you were working with that you already
Yeah,
knew these terms and so on. Yeah.
absolutely.
And did you have to go for any certifications for your job or did you get any extra certifications, anything like that?
Well, the only thing that the course doesn't come with is your X-ray certification, and of course you need that. So that I had to do on my own. I did get help from the hygienist that I work with, who's also a teacher. She teaches as well. So she sent me to the right place to where I had to go. But I mean, I do think that that'd be good if they were able to attach that to the program as well.
Hmm.
Only because around the time I finished, COVID hit. So
Yeah.
it was hard to transition and try to continue because we went on lockdown for 3 months. So that held me back a little bit. And then, financially, that was a little bit of a toss for me as well. So I feel like if, they were to make any changes to the program, I think that'd be a good change, especially for someone who's a single mom with kids and that'd be a little help for them. That's one less thing, one less finance that they'd have to worry about.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we always love hearing feedback about our programs and anything that we can do to potentially better them. So that's great feedback that we'll definitely take note of. Thank you for that.
Sure, no problem.
And Severina, what's next for you? Do you want to become, certified, or what's your ultimate career goal here?
Yes, I definitely plan on taking my boards. I do want to become certified. I want to do this. I'm giving myself 5 years because I want to go back and be a hygienist. So I definitely want to become certified. I'm trying to soak up as much knowledge as I possibly can before I take that next step and
Yeah.
going back to school to further my education.
That's amazing. And I love that you're going to, keep learning and keep furthering your education and your ultimate career goal. It's just going to keep getting better the more knowledge you have. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
Of course. So, what would you say to maybe a student that's struggling, or advice for students that, want to break into the field, but, are having a hard time finding motivation to keep going throughout their program?
The only thing I always say is you're never too old. That's my first thing that I say to people. I feel like a lot of people feel like once they hit a certain age, they feel like there's stuff that they can accomplish.
Yeah.
But I see it as no, you're never too old to go back to school and accomplish what you want. You have to find what interests you. You have to find what entertains you. You have to find your passion. Once you find those three things, it's never too late. You don't let other people, give you that like, oh, once you hit 30, it's downhill for you. I don't feel that way, I've spoken to a couple of people who have felt that way.
Mhm.
When I finished and I graduated and I got my diploma, I posted a picture and that was my quote. It's never too late. Just don't be discouraged. Don't let your age discourage you from accomplishing your goals and doing what you really want to do.
Yeah, I love that advice too, because I feel like we hear that so often, oh, it's
Yeah.
too late. Oh, I'm too old, and that's true.
Mhm.
And education's something that, you're never too old for. You're never too old to
Mhm.
keep learning. So that's great advice. And I wanted to ask you, you have children, you mentioned. What did you graduating mean to you and your family? How does it feel to be a Penn Foster graduate?
Oh, my family was proud. They were super, super proud that I decided to go back to school to further my education. They knew I wasn't happy in the field that I was in, and they knew that I wanted the change. So my family was real supportive, especially my children. Yeah, I'm their role model. My boys are older, they're teenagers. One's going to be in college and one's going to be in high school. So I'm their role model. And I told them the same thing, like, don't let your age ever get you down. You follow your dreams, you follow your passion, and you do what makes you happy. And they seen that that's what made me happy, so they supported me 1,000%, and they were so happy once I completed my program.
Oh, I love that. It was like a family celebration. That's great.
Yeah.
How does it feel for you personally to be a Penn Foster graduate?
I honestly say to myself all the time, like, I honestly can't believe not only that I finished school, but not only that I finished with good grades, and not only am I in my career. It's not a job for me, it's a career.
Yeah.
And, I've tried it twice when I was younger and it didn't work. And so to try again this third time at the age of 33 and to succeed, every day I say to myself, like, I can't even believe it. But it's just pure joy, pure happiness, and it's an undescribable feeling.
I love that. And congratulations. I'm so happy that you feel that way, because it really is a
Thank
great
you.
accomplishment and
It
it's
is.
something you really should be proud of. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Of course. Severina, I just want to wrap up our interview, and I appreciate you talking to me, but I want to ask one last question. What are three words you would use to describe your Penn Foster experience?
I would say affordable. The fact that the payment plan is an option is wonderful. It was definitely affordable. It was, I want to almost say easy. I found that it was easy only because it was at my pace and it worked
Mhm.
around my schedule. So that made it easy for me. And I found that the courses weren't as hard and everything was self-explanatory. And then I would also say that it was educational. Everything I needed to know was right there. I didn't struggle. I didn't feel too overwhelmed. I didn't feel stressed. So yeah, I don't have not one negative thing to say.
That's so great. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you taking the time to share your success story with us today.
No, thank you. I appreciate it so much.